victory at Lambeau 27-17, their first win over Seattle in 6 years. So Green Bay is now 2-0, while Seattle is winless at 0-2. Now, under the current playoff format, only 12% of teams who have started the season with an 0-2 record have gone on to the playoffs. Stephen A., how much trouble is the Seahawks team in?
Well, I think they're in trouble because the measuring stick is another Super Bowl appearance. They've been to the last two. Whether or not are they going to get to a third straight? I think that they can right the ship and get to the postseason because I think they're gifted enough to do that. Beyond that, I'm not so sure. Russell Wilson, when he's running the football, had 78 yards on 10 rushes yesterday. When he's running the football and being that dual threat, I think, Skip, that Russell Wilson is very, very formidable and makes their offense very formidable. When he doesn't do that, I think he's a lame duck. Certainly when Marshawn Lynch is only averaging about 2.7 yards a carry because he only had 41 yards on 15 carries, that's a problem. And when you look at whether it's Curse or Baldwin or whatever, you can't go in an offseason and get a guy like Jimmy Graham and all he can give you is one reception for 11 yards and he's only targeted 2 times. You got him for a reason, and they're going to have to figure out a way, meaning Darry Bevel and those boys are going to have to figure out a way to get him the football. But we all know what the problem is with this team. The problem is defense. I would remind everybody that the last, not one, not two, but the last 3 years, the Seattle Seahawks were the #1 ranked defense in all of the NFL for 3 consecutive years. Where do they rank right now, Skip? 29th. Why? Because Cam Chancellor ain't there. And when you don't have your leader, your quarterback on defense, on the football field, who is the assassin, who's the guy with the shaded, with the shaded face guard, who's the Jack Tatum of your defense, okay? When you don't have that dude, whether it's Jack Tatum, whether it's Jack Lambert or Jack Ham or somebody like that, when you are Ray Lewis, when you don't have the quarterback of your defense on that football field, Earl Thomas is a bad boy. Bobby Wagner is a bad boy. We all know what Richard Sherman could do, even though he's gotten burned on a couple of passes this season thus far. He's still an all-pro. We know how elite this defense can be, but you don't allow your head to be cut off. And until Cam Chancellor comes back to that team, they're not going very far. Green Bay won the game last night because of Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay won the game. It was assisted by that interception that Jerome Elliott, when he picked off Russell Wilson with about 6:50.
I'm not sure he recovered his own fumble, but they said that he did.
That's right.
So
they said that he did. They said that he did, so we have to go with it. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. Cam Chancellor, and I'm going to say this last point, Skip, I don't think Cam Chancellor is just affecting them defensively. I think Cam Chancellor is affecting them offensively. In no way am I implying that Marshawn Lynch is sort of tanking or anything like that. But it's safe to say that he doesn't seem like himself. Now, your offensive line obviously needs to improve. You let go, that dude Unger is not there. You've got a couple of other missing pieces on your offensive line, and we know that. But the play calling in combination with the lack of oomph, for lack of a better phrase or word or whatever, the lack of oomph I'm seeing from Marshawn Lynch, I think to some degree that has something to do with Cam Chancellor not being there. Seattle's got some problems, and they're going to have to address this before their season falls by the wayside.
Yep. I'm with you on this one. In the third quarter, I saw the Seahawks reach down and dredge up the last 2 years' Seahawks.
Yep.
And they made a run, and they took the lead from Aaron Rodgers. And then when the money was on the line, when the quarter changed to number 4, they shrank and they folded and they went quietly in the fourth quarter. And I saw a troubled, distracted, deflated football team. And it's all about not only Cam, but it's all the Marshawn versus Darrell Bevel. It's all the things that are swirling. It's the culture.
Yes.
It's, do we really believe in our head coach anymore or not? And I just saw a team in the fourth quarter whose heart, like to your point, the heart's not in the game. And I'm not saying you're trying to tank the game, but your heart's not in it. Your whole focus isn't in it. You don't play with the same swagger, the same confidence. You're not sure anymore that you're still the Legion of Boom because, as we keep saying, the boom is gone. So, Am I advocating that management fold up and give Cam what he wants this week? I'm not. I don't know how you alleviate this impasse, but I'm with you until it gets alleviated, until he gets back in the fold. I think they will continue to struggle.
Well, I'm with you because I'm not advocating that they do that for Cam either. I think it would nice. Cam Chancellor deserves his money. I don't blame him for fighting for his money, considering the violence that exists in football, considering the fact that teams get to come to you to modify your contract, whether it be by waiving, cutting, taking a pay cut, etc. I don't blame Cam Chancellor one bit. But if the difference is $900,000, no matter how much Snyder may have gotten on his last nerves by telling them to his face, I'm not doing anything for you this year, next year, or the year after, no matter how wrong Snyder was for doing that, there are teammates to consider too. And those teammates right there are struggling, going to war without you. So I'm not advocating that he folds, but I'm also not advocating that Seattle folds. I'm advocating that both of them come to an accord somehow, some way, and shove aside egos and precedences and all of that stuff and reach an accord to save Seattle's season, because I think it's in danger. And here's why I think it's in danger. I could be wrong because I'm watching the game on TV and I didn't see every camera angle, Molly, Skip. But over all of these years, I not only saw players playing for themselves, I saw players playing for Pete Carroll. Now what I'm seeing is players playing for themselves in spite of Pete Carroll. I don't see the same level of affinity that once existed for this man present at this moment in time. And I think that's a very, very dangerous situation for Pete Carroll to be in. It's actually becoming quite alarming.
Last two quick points. I even saw this affect Richard Sherman last night. And we know that the past couple of years he played with such arrogant confidence in a good way, but just his swagger, the way he carried himself, it's like you don't dare to throw over here. He completely lost focus a few times last night and lost his guy. And he said after the game, well, I kind of, I let them get away from me a couple times. His head and heart are not completely in this. And again, we talked about last week, is it because it's not that the team wanted to lose the game, but they had an excuse not to go win the game at Green Bay. And now they just want their guy to come back. And their new guy, my second point, to your point when you read Jimmy Graham's stats, when the game ended last night, it dawned on me that Jimmy Graham is now a Seahawk, and I could not remember him in the game. Seriously, I watched the whole game and I thought, I don't even remember him playing, and I had to go on .com to say, wait a second, did he catch? Oh, he did catch one ball. Caught one ball the whole game?
They're asking him to block. He doesn't want to block because they've got problems on the offensive line. And I think Chris Carter is absolutely right when he said that, he might do his job, but he don't want to do that job. He don't want to block. The other side to it is Richard Sherman. I think, and I don't know this because I haven't spoken to Richard Sherman about this, but I think he's got a lot of things on his mind. I think that Richard Sherman, the all-pro Richard Sherman, it's not just Cam Chancellor being gone, because I don't know how close that unit is. I don't know how close those two are. But I think it's the combination of that combined with being married, being a dad, combined with, focusing on creating a better image for himself, not being that guy that was going off in the NFC Championship game when they beat San Francisco. I think that Richard Sherman may be just slightly a bit preoccupied with other things, but as an organization, they're preoccupied with a lot of things, and they haven't zeroed in on making sure Richard Sherman is on his game.
That's right.
Because they're preoccupied with a whole bunch of things themselves, which is why it's that much more important to make sure on both sides of the ball your quarterbacks are always in place, because when you have them, you don't have to worry about such things happening.
Their first double-digit loss in 58 games, and that's the 58 games is since Russell Wilson's been the quarterback. Tough times ahead. The 1993 Cowboys are the only defending conference champs in the last 25 years to start 0-2 the next season and make the playoffs. So Romo is out for the foreseeable future, but was the hit a cheap shot? Eric Allen will join the desk to tell us. That's next. Stay here.